You have your Bibles, will you turn with me please to Matthew chapter 15. And I'll begin reading at verse 21. You can read along with the screens as well. Then Jesus went thence and departed unto the coast of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him. She shed tears, she screamed, she was in anguish, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thy son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him. They asked him urgently, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then came she and worshiped him. She made a formal expression of reverence for him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. And she said, Truth, Lord. Yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Notice how she challenged his justice. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is your faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. I want to speak to you this morning for a few minutes on great is your faith. I want you to turn to a neighbor and say, Great is your faith. Now I want you just to look inwardly and say, Great is my faith. Yeah. This woman is a character in the gospel that Jesus described with 4 immortal words. Great is your faith. She was a Canaanite woman who came from the country to the north of Palestine, a country that was very hostile to the Jews. She was presumably married, had at least one child, but all that we know about her is just what I've told you. That's all we really know. We don't know if she was a good woman. We don't know if she was a bad woman. We don't know anything about her. We don't know her name. All we know of her that is in one single, once-in-a-lifetime encounter with Jesus. He spoke this 4-word proclamation over her when he said, Great is your faith. Great is your faith. Only 4 words. She never dreamed about hearing those 4 words. But they are enough to make her story an immortal story that we're reading thousands of years later. Great is your faith. We can trust those words to be true because the expert on faith spoke those words. Jesus himself spoke that to her. Jesus searched for a faith like a diamond or a gem collector would go looking for fine jewels, and he did not always find it. Not even his own disciples did he find it. In fact, not on one occasion that I know of did he ever look at Peter the rock and say, Great is your faith. He never looked at James, the first martyr, and said, Great is your faith. Never did. He never looked at John the Revelator, one of the sons of thunder, and never told him, Great is your faith. No. Not a one to those men did he ever say, Great is your faith. Only one other occasion did he make mention of this, and that was to a Roman soldier stationed in Capernaum, which is another whole story. But I regard this Canaanite woman with more than just an academic or more than just a historical interest. She awakens in us a sense of admiration, maybe even envy, because she stood where most of us would like to stand, where a faithful child of God would just love to hear him say to us, and that is, Great is your faith. Great is your faith. I think of what it would mean, say, to an artist, if Picasso would just walk up to him and tap him on the shoulder and say, Oh, you have extraordinary talent. one of these boys trying out for the NFL, what if Lombardi walked up and tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Oh, you've got great talent, son. You've got great talent." It would mean the world to him. Well, how would it feel if Jesus were to say, "Great is your faith. Great is your faith." How wonderful would it be to be a believer in God if Jesus would just put his hand on our shoulder and say, "You know, you have a remarkable talent for faith." How does a person qualify for this kind of praise? What does one have to do? In order to understand this, I've got to take a closer look at her story. What deserves a statement, "Great is your faith"? Several things happen. But there are barriers and walls that must be crossed by us if we're ever going to hear that word spoken to us, "Great is your faith." And you may never tear the barrier down, but you can cross that barrier. First of all, I say of the Canaanite woman, she was willing to cross those barriers. She was willing to really go the extraordinary mile. Her faith was consistently, mainly in the fact that she turned to Jesus Christ for help. There was quite a remarkable thing here when you remember that she was a Gentile. She was a Canaanite, and therefore she was a traditional, hated enemy of the Jews. They had been despised for centuries. And isn't it remarkable, even though they were despised all this time, even though there's a real and deep enmity, that hatred still exists today as even yesterday. Gentiles are firing rockets into the Jews' territory. Hezbollah, you read all about Hamas. Oh, there's still such a hatred there. The war continues, and the war is about to spread. Such a hatred between the Jews and the Gentiles. That bloodline, that nationality. If you think that the race situation in America through the bygone years has been tough and been hard, it's nothing to compare with the hatred, the enmity, and what takes place between a Jew and a Gentile. Have you ever wondered what indeed Jesus was doing in this foreign country? Here he is in a foreign land. Why are you there in Tyre of Sidon? Why are you there in the first place? On no other occasion did he venture out of Palestine but on this one place. And why now? The common explanation that we know is that he was trying to get to a place of silence, of quietness, where he could talk to his disciples and prepare them in their privacy to go on with the work after his death. And he couldn't find that privacy in Palestine. So he went to a Gentile territory where the people did not know him. They wouldn't bother him. And he would have an opportunity to be with his people. It was quite unlikely, even doubtful, that a Canaanite would approach him, much less approach a Jewish rabbi, which Jesus was. The prejudices, the hatred was so deep. And this woman was aware of how much hatred and prejudice there was between the people that she was part of and the people that Jesus represented. She knew that, and yet she had a need. She had to go across a barrier to make sure that need was met. Those prejudices got so heavy within the people around them, there was nothing but hatred on either side. For here was a woman that was so in desperate need, such a need. Her daughter was vexed with a spirit. Let me tell you something. I believe that Jesus knew, as God, that there would come a time where he needed to be at a certain place, certain time, for a certain woman. He, as God, the creator, the beginning of the beginnings. If you go back to the beginning, yesterday, goes all the way back to the beginning, you still see God in the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In the beginning. So here he is in the beginning. He knew that there was going to be this woman at this place in time. Just like the prophet would say in the Old Testament that he is aware when that sperm hits that egg in your mother's womb. And he said, I have prepared you. I've got a life for you. He knows all about you from that moment of conception until your birth from that. He knows all about you. He knows how many hairs on your head. He knows the steps you take. He knows the tears that come down you. There's nothing that he's not aware of about you. So here he is at this place, this time, this barrier that has been placed there. First of all, called the barrier of time. Everybody say time. This woman is wanting her daughter healed. She's vexed. She's annoyed. She's irritated. She's agitated. She's angry. She's walling her eyes. She's having fits. She's pouting. She's going on. And she's saying, Master, I just need something here. And she had to go past a barrier of time to even reach that. 2 millennials to be precise. How in the world can we get across a barrier? Can we look back and we say, Lord, how can we expect something today like it happened back then? Are you the same God that healed back then? Are you that same God today? And will you be that same God tomorrow? How do I know you will give me what I need today? Because you're a God of tomorrow. I need something now, God. And there's something about this barrier of time we have a hard time wrestling with sometimes. But the Bible said he is the same God yesterday, today, and forever. He said, I am God, and I change not. I'm the same God yesterday, today, and forever. And we think it's a different ball game today. How can he help me today? Because he's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. The same God that you woke up to yesterday is the same God you'll wake up to tomorrow if you wake up. The same God that saw you when you were born will be the same God when you take your last breath. He's God and he changes not. He's God. So what is there then about this barrier of time? We just can't get it. Can this really happen? What about this barrier of culture? A generation that travels at the speed of sound. How can we relate to a Jesus riding on the back of a little donkey? How can we relate to him being able to solve my problem today? It's a barrier of time. It's a barrier of culture. How can I understand this? I can't really believe that he could do. It's a barrier you're going to have to get across. Remember, he's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. A third thing was a barrier of pride. Am I willing to get over myself in order to get to Jesus and admit that I cannot handle every situation that comes in my life? Are we able to cross that barrier that says, I don't need you, Jesus. I'll work it out for myself? Pride has kept more people from the miraculous than any disease has ever kept them from it. Oh, how I wonder we can have so much stinking pride. And you know where pride is found more than anywhere in the world? Among the religious. We are so proud. We're so perfect. We're so judgmental. We're so self-righteous. We're so lifted in ourselves. Nobody's as good as I am. If you only knew the lineage of my family, we're something special. If you only knew where I came, we are something special. Oh, it's got just pride factor that gets involved with us. It's talking about that pride. I'm doing good by myself, and it's clear. So clear that pride keeps us so many times from getting that touch from God that we so desperately needed. Why is it that pride can speak louder to us when we're sick on the pew? We're sitting there with fever, but pride says, don't dare go up there and ask anybody to pray for you. Don't you dare go up there and ask one of those people to pray for you. If you do that, they're going to think something's wrong with you. They're going to think something's way out there. You've got all messed up in your mind. You need to be careful. You can't demonstrate too much, but you got to hold on to yourself. You got to let people think you're something else. And so we go around with our little nose turned up and drowning in our own self-edification and our own stinking pride while we have sickness in our body, sickness in our soul, sickness in our mind, because we've got too much pride to allow somebody to say, in Jesus' name, be healed. In Jesus' name, be healed. It's clear to me that when this lady turned to Jesus for help, she didn't know that much about him. She just heard about him. I don't think she was a follower. Couldn't have been. She first addressed him by simply saying, Sir, And then she changed it to say, Lord. Then she went a little further to say, thy son of David, have mercy on me. Little did she realize that she was talking to God incarnate, the robe of God in flesh standing before her. Undoubtedly, she had heard about his great powers. Undoubtedly, she knew about this, and she was willing to put down her pride and cry out, have mercy on me. Now, let's be honest. If somebody walked down the aisle off the street this morning, and we're all sitting here feeling good about our spiritual selves, and they came in the middle of that aisle and just started screaming, have mercy on me, Jesus, thou son of David. I could tell you right now there'd be about 2 sections that just leave. They would evacuate because who is this? We don't want to be involved with that. What is that all about? Thank you, Brother Dennis. I might choke on it, but I might need it later. Thank you. Thank you very much. What if somebody walked in here with that kind of, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy upon me? Most of us would have the same attitude that the disciples had. Need to get her away from here. Need to take her out. Let's do this. You see, it was her faith that gave her an understanding. If I can just get that man's attention, if I can just tell him that I need something special. She didn't have a college degree. She was not schooled in all the things that need to be schooled in. There was no requirement. She may not even know the fullness of the 10 Commandments. I don't know. But all I knew, she'd heard about Jesus. And all she knew about this Jesus, healed blinded eye, they were able to see. This Jesus touched those that were sick on pallets and they were able to walk. This Jesus touched the leprosy and the leprosy was able to go. This Jesus touched the blinded eye. This Jesus, I've heard about him. And if he can do that for them, he's got to be able to do something for me. He's got to be something. Got to be able to do it. Got to be. So here she is. I've come to Jesus in this situation. I've exhausted all my resources. My daughter is vexed with a spirit. I've got to go get my miracle. And a made-up mind she had. Secondly, she refused to be put off. You see, there were 3 intimidating factors that could have made her give up. And the first thing that I would say that I've had a hard time even exploring was when she came to Jesus and literally screamed, have mercy on me. Jesus welcomed her with absolute silence. He didn't look at her, said not a word to her. He stood there. Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. How uncharacteristic. How unlike Jesus. You hear me? There's no reaction harder to bear than silence. Silence. A flat no would have been something. He could have looked at her and said no. And she would have known he meant no. But he said nothing. Left her wondering, what is he going to do? I'm pleading with him. I'm begging him. Just have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. You see, there's something about not knowing when somebody's thinking about you, what they're thinking about you, just nothing. Silence. One writer said that silence was the most perfect expression of scorn. Another writer said that silence was the speech of love. Another writer said that silence was the highest applause. Wow. Another writer said silence is the mother of truth. Another said silence is true wisdom, its greatest reply. And here he greets her with silence. no more sterner test than silence, the silence of God. It was that way for Job, if you remember, though. He could have stood all the endless sufferings if only the Almighty God had not seemingly gone into hiding and just cut off all communication. And Job lost this, he lost everything, he lost his family, he lost it all. And he shook his fist at heaven, challenged God to come out and talk to him. It's like talking to someone on a phone and you've got conversation, all of a sudden there's just silence. Silence. Hello? Are you there? Hello? I called Pastor the other day. He was all in his medicated state of mind. And we were talking for a minute. And so then I started talking. And I talked about 2 or 3 minutes, I guess. Next thing I heard was, "Excuse me, Pastor, are you sleeping?" He's still. "Hey, are you awake?" "Oh, no, I'm sorry, Dad. I guess I fell off there." I said, "Yeah, I guess you did. Yeah, there's no sense in me telling you my problems. It's all going to be all right. Everything will be fine. It's going to be good." So I moved on. Silence. It's like talking to someone on the phone and all of a sudden they're just not there anymore. That's how that Canaanite woman had to have felt when she told Jesus, "My daughter is vexed." And listen, it's one thing when you have a need, but when your kid's in trouble, are y'all hearing what I'm saying now? When that son's in trouble, well, you want some attention then. I can deal with it, but my kid over here, you get a little, you know how it is. My son, my daughter here, you know. Just something for her, Lord. If nothing for me, just something for her. I wonder how she felt. Vexed. Her spirit, her daughter vexed with a demon. Yet no reprimand, no instruction, no sympathy, no nothing, just silence. And for some reason, that silence did not intimidate her. She perceived that very few people have the faith to perceive, and that is that the silence of God does not mean the indifference of God. I want that to soak in. Just because you think He doesn't hear you doesn't mean He doesn't hear you. Just because you prayed a prayer and it hasn't been answered yet, it does not mean that the answer is not on the way. You see, you've got to have faith to make a declaration. She did not lose heart in the face of all that silence, crude silence. Another intimidating factor about this is she's standing before Jesus and begging for His attention, basically. She didn't receive any help from the disciples. Not a one of them said, "Master, can we do something here?" No. You know what they did? They looked at Jesus and said, "Master, send her away. Send her away now, Lord. She comes shouting after us." Now notice how important they were. It wasn't about Jesus, it was about them. She's making all this noise about it, shouting after us. It's embarrassing, Lord, please, come on. We're strangers here anyhow. Here she comes down here. But they did the same thing when Jesus saw 5,000 hungry people in the Sea of Galilee. They're hungry. Well, send them away, Lord. Enough's enough. Send them, all 5,000. Go, go, go. No, there's somebody out there with some loaves and fishes. I'm going to take care of it. He said the same thing when there was a cripple laying beside the pool at Bethesda. "I just need somebody to push me in." "All right. We're coming. We'll get over there as soon as we can, and we'll push you in." We'll come in. The attitude. Here they were, followers of Jesus, and yet they had no compassion on that woman. None at all. You see, and too often, and please forgive me this morning, but this has been the church's response to human suffering. Send them away. Send them to the prisons. Let them go to the jails. Let them go to the welfare agencies. Let them go to the ghettos. Let them go to the asylums. Let them go to the counselors. Get them let them do something. Just get them out of here. We all want to look pretty and smell good. We don't want to deal with that or that. Even when children tried to see Jesus, they tried to send them away, and he rebuked them for that. Part of this woman's faith was that she would not be put off by indifferent people, by people that didn't care. Now, let me tell you something. How many of you know that when you have a need, it is the most important need in the world? You didn't know that? How many of you know that when there's desperation in your life, you want everybody to get with you right then? And we need to pray because I got a situation over here right now. And we're expecting everybody to lift us up. But when there's nobody there, what do we do? When nobody says a word, when nobody has a word of encouragement, what do we do? And Jesus is silent. Oh, I could take it just hearing from people, but I've got to hear from him. I've got to hear something. But finally, he broke his silence. And he said, I have been sent to the house of Israel and to them alone. That's all he said. I don't know, was he testing her? I don't know. But it very much sounds like he was saying, look, you're not a religious woman, so I can't deal with you because you're not what I came to deal with. So that sounds like what he was saying. But even when she refused to be put off in spite of what Jesus said, she fell at his feet and started screaming, oh, Lord, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. And this was the essence of her faith. She may not have belonged to the synagogue. She may not have known anything about the Torah, but she had a need, and that's all it took. She had faith to believe that this man would supply her need. It wasn't about religion. It wasn't about how righteous she was or about how holy she was. She had a need, and she was not leaving until that need was met. Finally, she goes in with faith and humility. Brings me to the third point of her faith. She realized she had no claim on Jesus. To this woman's response for help, Jesus makes another difficulty and a statement that's just whatever. Even today, the word dog is kind of you call somebody a dog now. I don't know. We got this slang thing going now. I've seen brothers go, hey, dog, how you doing? I don't know what that is. But used to, when somebody said you're a dog, that means you're kind of a dog, I mean, I don't know. But back in those days, if you were called a dog, you wasn't complimented. It's pretty much an insult. They had dogs that ran wild in the streets of Israel. Dogs. They pointed out wild dogs. Why I can understand it, I don't understand why this woman just didn't burst into tears and run away. How many of you would sit there and have somebody call you a dog and you just look at them and you say, I have a need. My daughter's vexed. Call me what you wish. I have a need, and you're the only answer to that need. He's drawing the lines is what he's doing. You see, his ministry was not to the Gentiles, and I understand that. But this poor woman could have burst into tears and ran off. But she didn't cry. She didn't walk away. And she turned around and looked him eye to eye. And she said, it's true, Lord. I admit I am a dog. And I realize that I have no claim on you. I've done nothing to deserve your mercy. There's no position to make demands in I'm just here in faith. I'm asking you to take care of my daughter. Jesus looked at her and he made that statement, it's not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. But oh, she looked at him with such hurt in her eyes. I can only begin to feel what she was feeling. But then she stunned Jesus. She said, it's true, sir. I admit I'm a dog. I realize I have no claim upon you. But, sir, even the dogs eat the scraps from the master's table. She was saying, in fact, I know somewhere there's a little extra mercy. There's a little extra grace. There's somewhere for me. It's not just gone. No, even though I'm a dog and I don't deserve it, I know there's something there for me. And when she made those statements, Jesus looked at her and simply made the statement, great is your faith. Whew. All she asked for then was just a crumb, and she got everything. If I could just have this much. And he basically said, this much is not enough. Go your way. Your daughter's well. You mean I don't have to wait? No. While we're talking, I've already done the work. She's at home well. You'll never see your daughter like you've seen her now. Everything's okay. Just go home. It's going to be all right. It'll be all right. What I'm trying to get through to us in my feeble way today is don't judge what God is doing by what you see. You put it at the feet of Jesus and you leave it there. Don't get mad. Don't get all pouty. Don't start talking bad about Jesus. He'll answer so-and-so's request, but he won't hear mine. They live like a devil. I live for God. They don't pay their tithes. I pay mine, but he won't do anything for me. He's not going to, because you ain't right. You're not right. He's looking for somebody that'll say, okay, call me a dog, fine. But even the dogs have access to the crumbs. Off the master's table. And if I can just get one crumb, just a little crumb. Oh, man. Just one little crumb. I don't need a whole loaf. I just need a crumb. Great is thy faith. And all I did was pick up the crumb and put it in my mouth. Don't ever diminish what God's doing. Don't ever diminish what God's doing. When God begins to do a work, he does it in ways that everybody doesn't understand it. And nobody knows you like you know you except Jesus. And he knows what you brought in this house today. He knows what you came in here burdened down with. He knows all the things that's going on in your mind. He knows all about it. And the answer is here. Now all you've got to do is just humble yourself. And come down. And I'd like some of these prayer teams quickly to get up here real quick. I want you to get some oil out. And I want you to rebuke the barrier of pride. Rebuke the barrier of culture. Rebuke the barrier of time. All those things. Get them out of the way. And make an understanding in your mind. If I go down there right now, something is going to happen to me. And it may not happen right now, but it's happening. And I'll probably see the results of it even when I get home. God is going to be doing something. Don't base your faith on what you can see. You base your faith upon a name that is above every name. You base your hope upon that name that is above every name. That name is Jesus. And his word declared, anything you ask in my name, believing, it shall be given to you. Won't you stand with me right now? Don't assume his silence that he doesn't know you. He knows you. But he's waiting on you to bring that need to him. As this praise team begins to praise and worship God here with us, I want you to bring whatever it is. I want you to bring it, lay it right here at this altar. I want you to allow these people of God that prayed for you before this service ever began. I want you to let them put this oil on your forehead, on your hand, and pray the prayer of faith, and just watch what God's going to do in your life. You hear me? He's here to answer every prayer in this house. God bless you.